Just me.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, welcome everyone to another live stream at Southern Caregiver Research Center. I'm Marta Rañón, and we're going to be talking about spirituality and caregiving. And it's a topic that was requested of us not too long ago, and caregivers specifically had some questions around this topic. I want to welcome our viewers online and encourage all of you to, if you go home and you have additional questions and you want to rewatch it or even send it to your friends and colleagues and fellow caregivers, feel free to do that, and it would be available later for you to watch. Okay? So like I said, spirituality and caregiving. It's interesting. Let me ask you, just show of hands, how many of you have been caregivers or are currently caregivers? Okay, so a lot of you. So then this is a topic that has come up a lot, especially when the person that they're caring for, the care receiver, is bringing up questions of, I want to go to church, or I want to keep praying, or I want to keep doing some activities that I used to engage in. And you might have diverging opinions, or maybe not the time to do those things. So it's really that managing their request as well as your own. So we're going to try to talk about this in an hour, but feel free to chime in. I also encourage our friends online to ask any questions and to let us know how we can guide them as well. Okay, so this is what we're going to be covering today, and feel free to take notes and jot down anything that is of interest. So we are going to talk about stressors, because I do believe that a lot of the times caregiving and stress go hand in hand, even though, we talk about ways to avoid that, but I think it's only natural given the task at hand. We want to talk about the effects that spirituality can have on caregiving and some of the benefits that we see. We want to learn how to turn negative thoughts into positive ones. Easier said than done. But hopefully today at least we can start that conversation. Okay? So this is our focus today. Okay, so let me ask you, how does stress affect us all? Especially those of us who have been caregivers or are caregivers. Yes?
It can make you kind of short sometimes.
Yes.
When you're working with your resident or your client.
Absolutely, and whether you're working professionally or in a family, personal caregiving role, stress is still the same, right? You still get upset or frustrated. Anybody else have a different experience? Yes?
Just to kind of add to that, I think just the fuse is a lot shorter.
Yes.
You don't, at least me, I don't really think very much when I'm irritated or stressed.
Yeah.
I just kind of react.
Mm-hmm. A lot of us do, and it doesn't even have to be caregiving, right? Think of when you're driving down the freeway, right, and somebody cuts you off. You don't say, oh, let me analyze the situation, right? You're just like, right? So it's obvious that stress is a big part of our lives. How about the burden that caregiving inflicts upon us as people? And this is a safe space. Obviously, I want you to explore those feelings and talk about how burden, yes?
You just feel overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed.
Because there's always so many other things going on, as well as your loved one and all of what they need to have handled. And I don't know, for me,
It's a lot.
yeah.
How about we add the monkey wrench of dementia
Oh, yeah.
with the person that you're caring for? What day is it?
Denial.
And yes, so that's another monkey wrench, right? Dementia and denial. So the person keeps asking the question over and over and over, and you don't recognize that it's dementia, so now you're doubly frustrated, right? Yes?
I know that when I caregived for my aunt, and it was my job to live there with her, and it's my passion, so I knew I was on the clock, but when my cousins would come, they had their whole day already planned. So when they spend time with their mom, they were a little short and they, a little frustrated because they had so much more to think about, and so it does make a difference, especially when it's your family member.
Yes. And sometimes I think it's even more difficult when it's your family member. Because if you're approaching someone, for those of you who are in the field, working in the field, it's a client and you expect that. You know that that person might have some cognitive decline or some difficulties. But when it's your family member, there's, with that denial that we talked about, no, my mom is just, playing with you. She is just stubborn. She's just being really stubborn right now, right?
And you have to stop everything. You have to stop your life.
Yes.
You have a profession. You have to stop everything.
Everything. It almost becomes a person, and then you revolve around that person, right? So how do we change how we feel about that? That frustration, that anger, that denial, that overwhelming feeling. How do we change that?
Maybe look at their side.
Look at it from their perspective. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or support system.
Support system.
Someone to call, someone that can kind of bring you back.
Yes. Or even allow you to leave.
Exactly.
Even if it's mentally or physically, right? I need to vent with you right now. I'm really frustrated. I'm about to cry because I just don't know what to do. Let me break down for a little bit. And then it's cathartic, right? It's the release. And then you can start thinking, okay, so what do I do? Right? Sometimes we need to acknowledge and recognize those feelings. It's validation, right? We are human. Any non-humans in the room, right? We're all human. So this is normal, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a little exercise with you. If you can indulge me in this. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Stress is a major contributor to illness, and that to watch Heal on Netflix, it's a good documentary talking about it.
Okay, so watching Heal on Netflix. So somebody's commenting that stress is a
Major contributor to illness.
yes, major contributor to illness, and we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. So obviously we know, we're all smart here. We know that we need to manage our stress. But how are we going to do that? So I have a little exercise. And for those of you, if you can just grab one. For those of you who are online, if you just imagine you have a rubber band, okay? And if you don't have a pen, everybody have a pen? Yes? Okay. So write your name on the rubber band. Just write your name. Even if it's your nickname. Just write your name on the rubber band. It's a task in and of itself, right? It's a test. Can you write your name on the rubber band? Okay. You got it? So put the pen down and just look at the rubber band with your name. Right? Did you do a good job? Can you read it? Sort of? Okay. So watch what happens when you stretch the rubber band with your name as you're looking at it. What happens? It gets bigger? What else?
Easier to read.
It's easier to read? Interesting. It distorts it, right? It makes it stretched out, maybe illegible. This is a metaphor for us, right? We are here looking intact, right? I see people in front of me, full people. But are we, if we are dealing with all this stress and all this burden that we're talking about, right? And maybe we're walking around like this rubber band, distorted, right? Stretched out, bigger than we are, and not able to really manage what's happening in front of us because we're not fully there. So what I want you to consider, and you can take it, this is my gift to you. There actually are exercises that psychologists do with the rubber bands. I don't know if you're aware. That whenever you start engaging in like negative thinking, to just kind of look at the rubber band and just do this, and it kind of snaps you, literally, out of it. And so this could be a good reminder, I'm being stretched too thin. I need a timeout. Okay? Sometimes we need those visuals. Unless we have somebody there constantly on our side telling us, you need a break, you need a break. And even then, it's like, leave me alone. Right? We need to determine when we need a break. To be aware of ourselves. Okay? So, it's that accumulation of the negative thoughts. You just did this. Are you stressed? Is it getting more stressed? We're talking about stress. A lot of us carry our weight and our pain and our stress on our back. Do you? So I want you to sit back for a little bit. Just sit back. And close your eyes. And even if you're online, do the same thing. And just be aware of your neck right now. How does it feel? Tight? Hurt? You know, if you move your neck around, does it like pop and crackle and go all over the place? Yes, yes, snap, crackle, pop, okay. What do you think is happening? How often are you aware of how your neck feels during the day? Every day? Well, at least you're aware. That's the first step, right? So maybe what we need to do is really notice our bodies. I mean, we are carrying our bodies every day, but how often do we say, wow, you know what? I just did this right now, like how she did, and it's hurting. I need to take a break. Maybe I need a massage. Whether it's a professional massage, who wouldn't use that, right? Who couldn't use that right now? But even ourselves. So I invite you to do this to you right now, to yourselves. Just, you know, a little quick massage in the back of the neck. You know, if you have some oils at home, you can do that. You know, some people will schedule monthly massages, and that's neck exercise. Yes. Just doing a neck, and we can do that, you know, watching TV, right?
Also takes care of your chin right here.
All right. Okay. So that is one way to get rid of that stress, right? What we are wanting to do, and that's physical, what we are wanting to do is how do we get rid of the negative thoughts mentally, okay? So does this resonate with anyone? I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough caregiver. I'm not a good enough daughter, spouse, employee, person, you know, whatever it is. Can't seem to get things right. Everything goes wrong. Have you had those days where you're walking and you spill the coffee and then you rip your pants and then your pen runs out of ink or explodes in your purse? I mean, it's just all of these things that are compounding, right? I should have done more. We get this a lot from caregivers. I wish I would have known. I wish I could have done for the people that you're caring for. I've stopped praying. I've stopped going to church. I am a bad person because I don't want to care for him anymore. And these are actual quotes from people that I've spoken to. You know, people that say, oh, I'm just so tired of caring for this person. I don't want to do that anymore. And even at that point, you know, that understanding of the frustration is normal. You know, that maybe that person has hit their limit. Doesn't make them a bad person. But I think we as caregivers put so much pressure, so much stress on our shoulders that we start kind of going into this negative vortex. So this is my visualization of that, right? We internalize. Resentment, ring a bell with anybody? Right? I sometimes tell the story when I used to be a caregiver and I used to care for my great aunt who had dementia. I remember my cousin would call me, and she lived out of the country, and she would call me and say, how is Aunt doing? And everything about her, nothing about me. And I used to think, ask me about me. How am I doing? I'm the one that's caring for her. So it got to a point where I resented when she would call. I didn't want to talk to her. Oh, okay, I'll patch you through. You know, I'll let her talk to you. I don't want to talk. Okay, good. See you later. Bye. Right? So she didn't do anything wrong, but I wasn't verbalizing what I wanted, which was somebody to ask me how I'm doing. How am I doing as a caregiver? So does that happen to us many times? We just don't communicate, right? And so we retreat. What happens to many caregivers? They stop being asked to do social activities because you keep saying no, right? Oh, I can't. I'm taking care of Dad. And then they ask you again, do you want to go to the movies? No, I can't. I have to take Mom to the appointment. And after a while, people stop what? They stop asking. So then, again, we start retreating. So it's really that vicious cycle. So what we need to do is we really need to adjust our expectations. Remember, we are humans, and we have limitations. Being aware of those limitations is part of the equation. So, let's be honest. I can't do this caregiving role anymore. I need somebody to help me. I can only do it on the weekends. I can only do it part-time. I need your help. Can you help me? She's our mom too, so maybe you can take half of the responsibility. I can take half of the responsibility. I just can't do it all. And that's important. Asking for help is important, but why don't caregivers ask for help?
Because a lot of times people already see what we're doing, and we figure if they don't offer, then they must not want to do it. So,
Right.
You get tired of no's, or someone saying, "Oh, I'll help you," but then they're always busy.
Does that happen? People are well-intentioned, right? Oh, let me know whenever you need help. Just call me, and I'll be there for you. And then you call, yeah, no, I can't. Okay, well, that's why I'm calling you, right? What I tell caregivers is that's okay. That's okay, because if they're telling you no, then listen to that. Don't hold it against them. Just say, okay, you know what? I can't count on that person for this. What can you help me with instead? Right? So you offer to clean my house. It's not, every time I ask, you say no. What can you help me with? Well, I can pick up groceries for you. Great. So now that's what they do. And you just need to find somebody else.
But what if your spouse and all the family members live somewhere else?
If you're caring for your spouse?
Yeah, and no one else knows that your spouse is sick.
Mm.
Because they don't show it around those people.
So it sounds like communicating with the family and the reality. So what's happening is it needs to happen first.
Right, but the family's far away, so no one can come and help you.
But this is where we need to think beyond, because maybe we have these expectations that we want the family to come and help, to use your example. But what they could do is they could hire somebody for you to come and help. Maybe they hire a cleaning service. I'm just using cleaning as an example. They can hire groceries to be delivered. They can set up the appointments for you. They can have somebody, transportation. I mean, nowadays, with all the technology and the way that we are connected, there are so many different tools out there that we can utilize without expecting the family member to march in and be like, okay, let me know what I can help you with.
That's easier said than done, though.
It is.
Because first of all, that means you have to pinpoint them and ask them, which means you have to say, well, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not easy, because then you're putting them on the spot, and next thing you know, they're not available at all.
And if they're not available, or if they don't want to help, or if they just clearly are not interested. And remember, people react differently to situations as well. You are all caregivers because you've stepped up to the plate and you said, I'm going to do it. Somebody else might be like, I don't even want to admit that my mom has dementia or getting old, so I don't even want to deal with that. That might be something that they're going through. Yes?
What about if the person needing caregiving is choosy? I only want you to do it.
And that happens a lot. Yes, and that happens a lot. And that's where you say, honey, I love you. Yes, I can do it all. But right now I'm telling you, I can't do this. And I need to hire somebody to come in and clean the house.
And they lay a guilt trip in there.
And that's what you need to manage then, right? I mean, because what is it? So you're going to let the guilt trip prevent you from getting the help that you need? And so it's really putting it into perspective, right? It doesn't have to be your family that helps you. It can be other people. We are here to help, right? I mean, you're here, so you already know that you're taking a step in the right direction. What else is out there? How else do I connect to services that are available? Okay, so this is a good thing. We got to be realistic. I want to ask my family to help me. Oh, sorry. Yes. Question.
No, someone had just commented and was like, we assume everyone is busy and they will say no, and a lot of them do, or they don't volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's busy. We're all busy. Yet we still find time to caregive. So it is really managing and figuring out who it is that can help. So being realistic, obviously important. Letting others contribute. We use that example of, not everyone's going to come up to you and say, I will take the whole package from you. I will take care of your wife. Don't worry about it. Or mom. Nobody's going to say that. Right? So then maybe piecemealing it out. Here are some little tasks that I need you to help me with. Doing the yard, cleaning, cooking, picking up prescription, whatever it is. Can you help with any of those? Yes, that's going to be your job from now on. Once a month, once a week, once a day, whatever it is. I don't know. And have that person tell you, yes, I can do that. And if that person tells you no, then find somebody else. And you just go down the list. Okay? Recognize that we are doing our best. How many of you have been in this spot before as caregivers? Nobody. So we need to recognize that we're doing the best that we can. Some of you might have been caregivers once already, or twice already, or 3 times, right? But every situation is different. And if you're caring now for your spouse, but before you were caring for your mother, that's also a different relationship. So that's different. We're doing our best. We need to let go of that guilt. Easier said than done. But you are doing your best. You're all good people. That is why you're caregiving. You want the best for that person. Raise your hand who wants to be the worst caregiver possible. No one, right? And even if you were thinking, you wouldn't be here. Right? You want to be the best. So let go of that guilt. We need to work on that. I know. So we need to discover that power that we have within us, okay? Helping others makes us feel good. Have you thought about any example of when you helped others? Yes.
Well, I do this because I want to have my own facility one day.
Okay.
So this is my passion. So once a week, I do try to give myself to others.
Okay.
Okay. And that to me is where there's a dark hole, because everything you're saying is so true. But in reality, where are these people? So it's like we need our own volunteers. We need our own group of people that are willing to volunteer and say, hey, I'll give you this many hours a day, or I'll do this for you. Because sometimes we don't have that. So helping others is good. There's just not enough people doing that.
Yeah.
Because when you're a caregiver, how do you really help others when you're having such a hard time helping
yourself? True. True.
So,
it's a
but
challenge.
There are people like myself, I do believe, that are out there that are willing to give themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what the ones that we need to seek out.
And just to add to that again, too, I think that one of the biggest problems, at least for me, is the judgment. So mental health, I think, there's a big stigma surrounding it. So to reach out for help for somebody that has mental health, challenges is not the easiest thing to do, because not only do those people not really understand this person, but they are going to judge this person based on whatever interaction or, whatever they know or hear, or, and then again, then that judgment goes to shame, not only for the person that you're caring for, but also for yourself. So it's just like this cycle. Kind of cycle. That is like a really lonely cycle, actually.
It is. It is. And that's why everything we say here at this organization is we really encourage caregivers to build a support network. Yes. And it doesn't have to be family. It doesn't even have to be your immediate friends. It can be others, support group, us here. We can connect you to other groups that might be more willing and understanding because they're going through it. So what I want to maybe leave with you is helping others doesn't have to be a big production. It could be as simple as going to read to your, local library. If you have grandkids, even reading to your own grandkids is a good thing, right? There's a positive interaction there. Maybe you have a skill where you do some sort of a craft and then you make a bunch of them and you donate them to an organization. Knitting. I remember when I was a caregiver, knitting, Don't ask me for anything. It takes me a year to do a scarf. But knitting was my way of de-stressing. It was my, I kind of, okay, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to learn how to do this. And I did several ones. And then when I was left with all these scarves, I donated them. Right? And it made me feel good. So it could be those little things that you might want to do. Happiness really depends on us. And I'm not telling you anything new, right? You know that. When you are happy, the world is much easier to manage. When you're upset, the world is a very negative place, right? Anybody know who said this? No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt. So we have that power, and it's not easy. I recognize this, especially, on a personal level. It's not easy to say, oh, you just wronged me. That's all right. How am I going to think about it? Right? It's not that easy. But then maybe we do other things to make us feel good. So think about it. Just, there's so many things in San Diego County. There are so many organizations that we can give ourselves to. And it doesn't have to be, again, really involved. What ends up happening is that you might start creating that network. Oh, here's this nice lady that comes every month and donates scarves. Right? And now you have these people that appreciate you and are happy to see you and are positive for you. And you kind of feed off of that energy. Okay, so we're going to get into more of like the spirituality, which is really the gist of this conversation. But I want to ask you, what does it mean? What does it mean to you, spirituality?
Connecting with a higher power.
Connecting with a higher power. What else?
Connecting with the best in us.
The best in us, yes. What else? Yeah. What is spirituality?
Finding personal sources of hope.
Hope, yes. Finding personal sources of hope. So it's maybe asking ourselves this question, right? What kind of a person am I? What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of a person do I want others to see me as? Right? What will be the outcome of my caregiving? Why am I doing this? I mean, really? Why are you caregiving? It's hard. Nobody's getting paid. And even if you're getting paid, it's not easy. Right? Because you love the person. Right? You love the person. And that right there is a very, admirable and noble thing that you are doing.
But even at that point, because there's still so much guilt. Because if you even though we look at spirituality, but if you look at it, it's like, well, why is this happening to me then? Why was God, why did you throw this all on me? Why do I have to be the one? So there's so many ways to look at that.
Yes. And that's a valid question. Why are these things happening to me? Why am I always stuck with the caregiving role, right? What is my connection to the world? Why am I here? What's my purpose? Why am I the caregiver? What should I do with all those negative experiences you were just saying? Why is all this happening to me? What does this mean? What are the lessons? What should I do? And maybe these are questions you haven't necessarily asked yourself, but now that we're talking about this, it might guide you in a sense of, purpose, a higher purpose. You love that person. That's a huge reason and a beautiful reason why you're caring for that person. But what else? Maybe can I live my life in the best way possible that's also caring for this person and letting others know that this is okay? That mental stigma doesn't need to be there because the person is a person and we need to care for each other. I remember when I was caregiving, a lot of those questions came up, why am I the one caregiving? She was my great aunt, so she was my grandmother's sister. Not my mother, not my immediate aunt, my grandmother's sister. So it's almost like there was like I skipped. Somebody didn't step up to the plate in a generation, right? And so I'm thinking, why am I doing this? And then I had to look back and think, well, I'm doing this because I love that person and because she didn't have anyone else. And even the people that were around her, not it. And because I would never want that for anybody, I thought, I need to help her. You know, she was always so giving and so loving, and so I needed to do that. And now that I look back, yes, it was difficult. Yes, it was very challenging. I was working full-time and caring for her full-time, and she had dementia. But now that I look back, I feel really good about it because I feel like I was there for her when she needed me the most. She didn't even know she needed me. And so what I did with that information is I wanted to help others. So when she died, I was like, well, what do I do with all this knowledge that I have for caregiving? So I started volunteering. Because I figured, well, you know, if I could care for somebody, I have time to volunteer, right? And so I became a volunteer here. How else can I help? They helped me so much when I was going through my caregiving journey. Maybe I can help them. And so that, to me, it became my passion. And now when I talk to caregivers, I want to do everything possible to make sure at least that they're connected to our services. Because I understand that it's not easy. Yes?
Someone had also mentioned that instead of asking why this happens to me, starting to ask what the lesson is for me.
What is the lesson? Yes. What am I going to learn out of it? Again, easier said than done because at the moment it's really challenging. But what is it that I'm doing to make this situation better? You're caring for that person. That already is good.
You know, sometimes too, because we are talking about spirituality, so I do link that to God, you know, to my higher power. And sometimes it's not always why or what, but sometimes you have to say, okay, well, make a plan for yourself so that God can help you get to that point too. So it's like, okay, God, I'm doing this, but these are my dreams. So now you have to start trying to figure out how to make your dreams come true at the same time, because then that gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't have dreams and still be a caregiver for someone, even though you feel like your time is going by and you're being, you know, you're getting older, and you're getting older as you're working. When am I going to ever have time for myself?
Yeah.
But you will.
And that's why we tell caregivers, incorporate your needs during caregiving so that it's not, 10 years later, 20 years later, however long it is, that you're now discovering, okay, well, what am I going to do? But in the meantime, okay, yes, you're caregiving, yes, it's challenging, but I like doing certain things too. And I can't let go of that. I can't forget who I am in this relationship. And just like you're saying, making your plan is also important. Yes. So what can spirituality do for you? What does spirituality do for you?
It just gives me it gives me an outlet. You know, it gives me something to have hope for. Like we said, it's about hope. So it gives me my outlet that I know that right now I'm kind of in a different place than probably a lot of you, because you're caregiving for a lot of your loved ones, and I'm not there, But at the same token, I do caregive, and I want to know that it means something, because if you look at a profession, if you're looking for careers, you won't see caregiving. Okay, you can go to career.com and do.com. You're not going to see
Anybody wanted to be a caregiver when you grow up? Right?
You don't see it. And most people that are caregivers will say that's the last thing I want to do. Once
Yes.
this is over with, I don't want to have nothing else to do with caregiving. And I get it,
Yeah.
But at the same token, you got to have a plan for yourself. And for me, spirituality is my connection with God that gets me to the next level.
Okay. So that hope.
That hope. It's all about hope.
Yes.
The spirituality, I was thinking in terms of it can challenge us to focus on being thankful. Thankful to God, our higher power, thankful to ourselves for who we are, thankful for our family and friends,
Yeah.
for the person we're caregiving.
Yeah.
So every day you can be thankful for something.
Absolutely. Yes. 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 Anybody else want to share?
I think it's a realization also of
who you are, what you're capable of, and sometimes it just surprises you that you have all this ability, this gift of being able to do such a very difficult task, and you wonder, how did you do it?
You know, I wonder that all the time. I look back and I thought, how did I do this? If you were to ask me, can you do it all over again? I'd be like, I don't know, let me think about this now, right? But even then, I would probably say yes, because now I have all this, at least an inkling of what caregiving is. But you do it.
Really into our faith, we call it the grace of God, if you want to call it that. We attribute it to that grace that you don't have, that the higher being your spirituality has, and you attribute that to grace. I mean, for those of us that have very strong faith, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something more.
And so you'll pull through.
Yeah, it's amazing how it gives you that strength, power, and all that good things that makes you a good caregiver.
Absolutely.
A sense of being, a sense of fulfillment, a sense of really the purpose of who you are.
You all become very resilient at the end of it, and you might not even realize it.
Exactly.
Because you've gone probably through the worst, and now you are coming out of it, and you realize, wow, I did it all, and it was all within me. I did all of that by myself, and of course adding, different levels of support. So it can, yes?
Well, someone from online wanted to share that. She said, I have been a caregiver for 22 years to my husband, and my passion is to share. Yes, one day I would like to volunteer at SCRC.
Welcome.
Ministry, and I'm doing this now with an online support group. So she shared her experience.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, it's wonderful to be able to share this information with others. We're not the only ones. We're going through this now, but I'm sure there were people that have gone through it before and will go through it after we're done caregiving. So spirituality can ground us, right? When we're getting in our heads and kind of spiraling out of control, like the gentleman over here said, it makes us thankful and grateful for what we do have, for what is in front of us. It gives us hope. You are just writing my PowerPoint. It helps create positive energy or karma or grace, right? It's that silver lining in a bad situation. Something good has to come out of this. What is it that I'm not seeing? Right? It's that body, mind, and soul connection. Right? It's not just physical, but it's mental and it's emotional. So how do we evoke spirituality? People have different ways of doing this, okay? I'm going to just give you some visuals here, because I know for some people it's easy, right? You have your Bible, you might go to church, you pray the rosary. But to give you some other aspects, candles. Sometimes just lighting up a candle with some scents and oil, it just kind of transports you to a different, more tranquil place. I put here rocks, and of course I put my hope rock. That maybe it kind of just helps to look at it and touch it, and to just really kind of, well, what does this mean? Maybe it symbolizes I need a timeout. This is something hard that I'm going through. What can I do? I have little hearts here. Can you see the little hearts? These I actually use for my children. That sometimes if they're having a bad day and they, look at it and they know how much I love them, and to remember that, hey, this is not a bad thing. Something good is going to come of it. My mom still loves me, and I just need to make good choices next time, right? But just little hearts. I know that in some cultures, when people die, they put stones on their gravesites as a way to kind of not only remember, but just that idea of the memory is always there of that person. So this can symbolize somebody's, memory. Again, just little colored stones that people, maybe you're working at your desk and you put a little stone because that's the favorite color of the person that you're caring for, and so it just kind of makes you smile. I do that a lot now at home. I have a lot of different things that reminds me of my aunt. And sometimes, even when it rains, we used to sing songs together. And so it reminds me of my aunt. And so it's a nice thing, to remember the good. Maybe you have, maybe you practice meditation and you have mala beads that you practice meditation on a regular basis. It can be whatever you want that to be, to remind you of taking a break, to reconnect with those questions that we were just mentioning. What are some of the things that you do?
Scriptures. My friends send me scriptures.
Scriptures. You know what's interesting? I have friends right now that it almost turning into like a little support group, just because we're working mothers and it's hard sometimes, and it's caregiving. It's caregiving on the other side of the spectrum. And we send each other quotes, positivity quotes, because sometimes we just need to remember that it's okay. It's okay. And that's just a very uplifting thing, and you feel nice in that moment. Every day. And then you can send them to somebody else, right? You're creating this chain reaction of positivity. Oh my goodness, I just got goosebumps from hearing that. I mean, that's amazing. That's a very simple thing. What else?
I think what it is too is, if you're in a faith community, it connects you, and sometimes just that little hug or how are you doing, just a little greeting, and they know what you're going through is very powerful.
Yes. Yes. It's that human connection, that positive human connection. Okay, so that's why I put here volunteering and helping others. That can be also, so this could be more of an individual thing. You need that time out by yourself to kind of reconnect with your own being. And then also volunteering, because there's something about being around people, especially if they're positive people, that makes us feel really good. I used to joke that sometimes I would come to work, or when I was caring for my aunt, go to work for my respite. Go figure, go to work. But it's because you're engaging in conversations that are different and maybe positive versus caregiving at home.
Well, and I think, too,
Yes.
it makes you feel human.
Yes, it makes you feel human.
I can be, like, in a horrible mood, and I can go, interact with people, whether it be professional or just out at the grocery store, and I actually feel, like, way better about myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a human being again, and not that I'm not a human being, with my partner, but,
Yes.
There are times I don't feel like I am.
Yeah.
Especially when I am, when it's a bad week or a bad day. I think that's, even just going to the grocery store, sometimes just walking up and down the aisles.
You would be surprised. We used to joke around and say, I'm just going to go to the grocery store or to the whatever store. I don't have anything to buy. I'm just going to walk up and down the aisles. And it's like, okay, out of all the places you can go, it's like, I just need to have a mission, which is going to go up and down the aisle. That's my mission. And if I have some interaction with people, it might be positive, and so I want that. I remember one time I was doing that, and I was standing in an aisle, and I really was just looking at the shelves. I wasn't buying anything, but I must have had like a blank stare or something. And this lady comes over. She said, she had her cart. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then she looked at me, "Oh, honey, I love what you're wearing." And I wasn't wearing anything out of the ordinary. So I love that. Maybe it was a bright color. I don't know. And then I smiled. She said, "Oh, your smile is just so, infectious. It's so beautiful." And I thought, am I on camera? Like, is somebody in my head? She made my day. She made my day.
Yeah, we just blew up on social media. So Roxanne says, watching a good movie with a good friend, praying, meditating on God's word, and dancing.
Dancing.
Bonnie Black, love inspirational quotes and spiritual quotes. Emma says, I participate in daily devotion groups every day at 6 a.m. And then Victoria said, ocean time.
Ocean time. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. Absolutely. Believe it or not, when I was caring for my aunt and I was in the middle of like, I can't, my family's not helping. What am I doing? She's got dementia. I have to work. All of these things were being compounded. My counselor here asked me, yes, what is it that you like to do? And I said, well, I love to go to the ocean. And we live right here, She said, well, why don't you go? Go in the middle of the day? Well, you have a lunch break, don't you?
I used to.
Yes. Well, then take your lunch and eat it there. I never thought about it. So now, whenever I am really down and really upset or depressed or overwhelmed or whatever it is, being aware of yourself is important. I just take a walk on the beach. I take my lunch, I see the waves, I meditate, I breathe in, I just take in the sounds, and I become a whole different person. And sometimes you just need that little recalibration. Yes?
Dog parks or a dog beach.
Dog
If
parks.
you don't have a dog, but we do.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah, because you see them running like no care in the world with their ball and their bone, and you're like, look at that, their ears flapping in the wind, right? Almost in a jealous way, you want to do that? Yes. Okay. So I wanted to share other belief systems and what they feel when it comes to doing good deeds or feeling good. So in Judaism, a mitzvah is a good deed, and it's part of their tradition. Christianity, love thy neighbor as thyself, right? So do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. Buddhism and Hinduism says that caregiving is both a devotional and active part of service. Islam, solidarity and community are important, which are all the things that we've been talking about. And I like this one. Caregiving is an act of kindness. You are giving care. In a very selfless way, you are caring for someone every day. You are giving them care, whether you recognize it or not. You're doing these selfless acts every day. And that, to me, is great. Because I want to be surrounded by people who are giving care. And this is a wonderful thing, to be among those kind of people. So that is, just kind of sharing that with you, that a lot of us have more in common than we know. So honoring the care receiver is also important, okay? Their wishes are also important. And sometimes caregivers might become more religious, towards their end of life, and might want to go more to church or whatever it is, right? So we need to engage them in more religious activities, although that sometimes is contrary to what the caregiver wants to do. So then we really need to assess, is it about you or is it about them, right? My father-in-law would walk to church 3 times a day, and nobody was going to stop him. But I know that part of the reason was to engage with others, to be in community with others, to see what was happening, to socialize. So it wasn't that so much that it was, he felt compelled to go to church, but church was the place that brought him this positive experience. And so that was nice. So, sometimes the care receiver wants those traditions to be observed, right? And so what do you do there? Well, let's honor them. Let's have them do that. Find ways of maintaining their traditions and their, customs. And even if you don't necessarily, isn't something you want to do. My aunt, that was my aunt. She was very predictable about certain things. And I thought, well, that makes her happy. Why not? So there is actually gerontologists, the study of aging, believe that there is definitely a link between religious commitment plus good health, which can lead to successful aging.
And my aunt was 92 when she passed. She had dementia, and she wasn't a real religious person, okay? But her kids were. So one of them asked me one time, he said, Dawn, I just get so worried and so concerned that she's not going to go to heaven. I said, why would you think that? Because she's just not religious. She just doesn't do anything, she doesn't read the Bible. I mean, she doesn't talk about it. You can't discuss it with her. I said, I know, but once in a while she does bring up the things that they went to Bible study when they were little. I said, plus, you don't know what her relationship is with God and what she's already given herself. So you can't really say that,
Yeah.
But we get so scared sometimes because we know as a caregiver that if you're a caregiver, there's going to be that time where they're going to be deceased.
Yeah.
And that's part of being a caregiver.
Yeah.
And it's hard because once you start connecting with the religious side and all of that, then all of that starts to come up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something that we have to understand and relate to. And it's not always easy.
No, it's not.
It's not easy.
And like you said, I like that you said that people have different relationships to spirituality, to religion, to customs. And it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't have to be your own. But there is that successful aging because it leads to hope, like how we were talking earlier.
She was healthy, too, all the way to the end.
Wow.
So, you know, she was doing something right.
Yeah. Right? So there is a researcher, Grudson, at Stanford University who actually said that spirituality can be a counterpoint to burnout. Isn't it? And that's why I give you all those options, because it doesn't have to be, it's not religion. And if it is, that's great. But I'm saying if you don't subscribe, there are many other things that you can do that can fulfill that connection to yourself. So I thought that was really interesting to have that practice to have hope and avoid burnout. So guide to positive thinking. So talking about different perspective. Who said it? Different perspective. Was it you that said different perspective? Somebody said different perspective earlier. Having a different perspective is important. Asking others for advice, for assistance is good. Reducing stress. We talked about some options already, you know, massaging, going to the beach, going to groups. Some me time. Me time is really important. If you like to read a book, read it. If that's what makes you happy, do it. Now, you don't have to read the whole book in one sitting. It might take you 3 months, like me, to finish reading a book. But at least you might read a page every day, or a chapter every day, or you read for 10 minutes every day. Whatever your time frame is, as long as it's your time, okay? Change your dialogue with yourself. Remember all those red words that I had put up before? Let's change those, okay? You are doing the best that you can. You've never been here before. Anybody went to caregiver school? Caregiver, yes? You went to caregiver school?
I did. I took it's like that classes. I had a one-on-one. Somebody.
Here? It's in our organization? But with our organization? I guess what I was trying to be silly. What I was saying is that there isn't like, you know. If you can take classes, obviously that's going to help you. But you're doing this now to help you, and that's a good thing. No stress. Be happy. And maybe we work towards that. Right? Stress is part of life. Not being happy is normal. But how do we not go around, you know, walking a negative mess? Because then that's going to have an effect on our health. Okay? Okay. So this is a list of all of our resources, which I think you all, before you leave, make sure you take our brochure so you know. The next class that we're going to have here, our live stream class, is March 13. And guess what? We're going to be talking about managing caregiver stress. So if anybody wants to come to that, I welcome you. It's here. It would also be live stream. We do have a couple of conferences coming up, and this one is for military and veteran families. And what's great, it's actually here in Tierra Santa, Friday, March 8th. And what's great about this is that we're going to be talking about, well, how to help the family caregiver, but about improving sleep to help, to help with caring for someone from traumatic brain injury or post-traumatic stress disorder, and also how we can use technology to help us as caregivers. So that's going to be the other one. And then we do, for those of our friends who are maybe know someone in Imperial Valley, we're going to have a Spanish conference on May 30th. And, you know, we're going to talk about nutrition, the link between diabetes and dementia. We're going to talk about dementia, incorporate some physical exercises as well. And then we're going to have a series of workshops in different cities in Imperial Valley talking about dementia, talking about caring for yourself, because we definitely want to make sure people know that they need to incorporate that. So that's it for our class today. Here's our content.
That last one, is that Spanish speaking only?
Yes, it's only in Spanish for those. However, check in our calendar because we always have workshops here. We just had a wonderful workshop in January on mobility. And so we brought in a bed and a chair and how to help people in and out of the bed and how to secure them so that they don't fall. So we check our calendar because we always have those kinds of classes here at our training room. You know where we are because you found us here today. But we want to just make sure that you stay connected. If you're not already our client, talk to our my colleague Rosario here. There's a great program for people who are caring for someone with Alzheimer's, dementia, and memory loss. And so it's a wonderful program because not only does it talk to you about what to do in those situations, how to manage the symptoms of dementia, but also self-care. And we do talk a lot of what we talked about today in that class. So. Any questions?
How do you volunteer? Is that through Rosa?
You can let us, if you want, sign up with her. And we're actually collecting a list of volunteers because we could always use volunteers. Especially if they're caregivers or they've worked in the field because they understand it. So we always are looking for volunteers to help us get others. You know, the worst thing that I hear sometimes is when people say, oh, I wish I would have known about your services. We could have used them with our family. And that just breaks my heart because it's not easy. So the more help you have, the better. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your feedback and interaction. I always like that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You can keep the rubber bands.